Welcome back to the activation phase. This is Tim, and I'm here with JP as always. Hello, JP.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. So just a quick heads up, my cat is very talkative today. JP already heard him, so don't be, surprised when you hear the purring or screaming. I assure you they are fed. So let's get into Crusaders. So I think the important thing to say is last time we started Crusaders was right before Chivalry, and we just started it, and then it got the big FAQ. So we had 5 episodes, and then we ended up publishing 3 because one was obsolete. We kind of lost one to technical issues, and now we'll redo all 12 of them. And I think in the last episode, JP, as we just discussed, we said we'd do the mercenaries for Chivalry. We also we'll skip on that because we already have that big YouTube video out. It's I think there's not basically nothing changed other than maybe the canon isn't as good as I first thought. So since it doesn't generate a die, but yeah, we'll get into Crusades and talk about all 12 factions.
Yeah, I think also both the FAQ for Age of Crusades came out and Age of Chivalry came out like shortly after.
Yeah.
And then I think we were like, okay, we need to get on the hype train before we wait 6 months to get onto it. So I think those were the reasons. But I think we are back in the saddle, so to speak. We've covered Age of Chivalry, and then I think with the FAQs, especially with the timing, it's like taken a while to land. And to be honest, this has been one of the probably more well-received FAQs as well in terms of just shaking up the entire book. I think it was starting to get kind of like some factions were almost, I'm not going to say unplayable, but like really difficult to do anything with, like Ordenstadt, I think the Moors, and
Saracens were also hard. I think only like Hamza made them work, but they weren't great.
No, Bjorn was crushing with them as well.
I see.
So I think but it was definitely on the more difficult side of things, and then Polish were also kind of just not okay. So I'm not saying everything was like fixed, but I think it's definitely gotten better, and some things have become even better. But I think the overall level, like the floor is higher, and the ceiling maybe has also been blown up a little bit with some of the factions. But anyway,
I completely agree.
Yeah, but it's shaking it up, and it's basically like looking at a new book. So I think it's time. So what better faction to restart the Crusades with the Crusaders, the OG faction?
Let's get into it. They're a good faction. They're a great faction.
All right, let's skip the fluff, but let's just say you have 2 sub-factions. You have Levantine and Baltic Crusaders. I'm super glad they added in the Baltic Crusaders for this particular book, but it opens up like a whole new, I guess, theater of operations. So the Levantine Crusaders, those are the ones probably people normally think about going to try to capture Jerusalem, and then once they have captured it, trying to, beat the Seljuks, Saracens, whatever you want to call them, over several hundred years, and kind of fighting those type of battles. I think it's fair enough to say the Crusaders board for the Levantine focuses more on the initial, kind of like the first crusade, where you have a kind of massive levy. I think that's the vibe they're going for. And then the second one, the Baltic Crusaders, which is probably my favorite area with the factions that I am more interested in, covers the basically like the Germans and kind of Western European knights going to the Baltics, fighting against the Poles, the Russians, or the Rus. Don't get angry at me. I know it's like there's like more comments about whatever. Okay, it's a game. And the pagan peoples, the whatever. So that one is more focused on the knights who are there for a short amount of time, basically want to go there for like a summer or a year, and then kind of earn their spurs and earn their loot, kill some pagans, and then come back. So it's much more like a elite professional army, and then the Levantine one is like a rabble, basically. So that is reflected also in the choices in the units, which are absolutely insane in terms of how many choices there are. So let's go through them, and then I will try to group them together as much as possible to keep it a little bit, I don't know, whatever the word
Organized,
is.
structured.
That's the one. Structure. We like structure. All right. So Warlord and Hearthguard, they both have the same options regardless of whether they are Levantine or Baltic. So they can either be mounted on a horse with no special equipment, obviously, heavy weapon on foot, obviously, and then no special equipment. The warriors have 4 different options. So just the standard warrior on foot with nothing special, the mounted warriors on horses, warriors with crossbows, but this is only for Levantine units and only a unit up to 8 figures, and then also warriors with bows, which have also just for the Levantines. So the Baltics can only be on foot and horse, and the Levantines can have all 4 options. The levies, finally, this is where it gets a little bit special. So for the Levantines, you only have the option of taking pilgrims. So they are unarmed and have improvised projectiles. They have armor of 3/3. They're basically melee, and then unarmed means that they, what is it? You get a +1 on your armor save if you
when you fight against them. Yeah.
And then the improvised projectiles are. Yeah, they can't. Yeah, that's right. And then the improvised projectiles is like a short, kind of crappy javelin, basically. I think it's minus. What is it? -1 to. Is it? They actually have to activate, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I can never remember if it's -1 to hitting them or if they also get a +1 to their saves. But it's just, it doesn't really matter unless you play them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can't. Do you have to activate them? Yes, right. It's not like the javelins where they get a free throw. Yeah. All right, so they're pretty. That's pretty mediocre in terms of the unit itself, but that's not the point of them. All right, and then if you're a Baltic Crusader, you can take crossbows or bows, so that's pretty good. Okay, that's that wrapped up. They have no special in terms of special equipment like wagons and other things, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the battle board. Here they're called Knight Sergeants, Foot Soldiers, and that is exactly as you would expect, so no changes there. Combat bonus is also the same here. You can do shooting combat bonus, so that's nice. And then also your activation pool, nothing special. So it's like the standard thing that everyone is used to, basically.
Yep. All right. And then the first advanced ability is called Without Fear of Being Wounded, and it's a melee ability that takes a rare. And it says you may reroll any defense dice you wish. Nice wording from 2018. But yeah, you can just reroll your defense dice. So that's really nice on a unit that close ranks, of course, because that's like you only miss 1/4 of your defense dice, which isn't a lot. Especially if you can give yourself additional defense dice, then this becomes basically unbreakable. And then, of course, on units that can close ranks, this is basically like closing ranks. So I think it's 56% of saves. So a bit better than closing ranks while still retaining all your attack dice. So I think it's a good ability. The rare kind of hurts because I feel like the board is kind of dice hungry, so you want to use the rare sometimes to get the activation pool. But being more survivable has never hurt any warband in Saga, so still a good one.
Yeah. All right. Solid start. So the next one has been FAQ'd. This is find chinks in their armor. This is using either a common or a rare. So it's a melee ability, so you gain 4 attack dice, 6 if you use a rare. You must reroll each attack die which scores a 6. All right, so it's like a double-edged sword, I suppose. I'm really not sure about this one. I think there is a combo later on with this in particular, but yeah, I mean, it's okay for a common, I guess. I don't like if you really need to get rid of like levy or something else, then sure. But I don't know. It feels strange to like you're doing it basically for the extra attack dice, not for the not for having to reroll the sixes. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the rare is a complete waste on here, obviously, because it's you get 2 more instead of like twice, which is the usual twice, or like some attack dice, some additional attack dice, and like a bonus effect. But this time you just get 2 more attacks, which seems kind of weird. So the common is all right if you have a mediocre amount of attack dice and fight levies, and that's such a niche scenario. So if you have like 6 attack dice and you're fighting levies and you hit them on 2s, yeah, sure, you can play this to kind of try to wipe them. But I think going into Hearthguard, this is a complete blowout, of course, and going into Warriors, still, this doesn't feel very good. So kind of
I guess it's like if you have your heavy weapon guys or something like that who are going to be hitting on 2s, then yeah, if you're rerolling the 6s, I would have to do the math to figure out if it makes sense to do it.
But that really hurts with the heavy weapon guys because you also need to reroll your 5s because they essentially become a 6. So and with the current FAQ, everything that's above a 6, so your 6 becomes a 7, but the current FAQ says that also becomes a 6 because you can never.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not like rolling a natural 6.
5s and 6 hurts.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot they changed also in the latest version. So yeah, this sucks. Why would you play this? I don't understand.
Yeah. Only into levies.
Yeah. Wait. Give me a moment. My cat is going absolutely nuts outside the door. I want it to open so she.
Yes, we'll keep that in, and now we'll go right into the next ability, and you'll. All right. Next up is set an example. It's a melee ability that takes either a common or an uncommon, and it says choose 1 or 2 other units within medium of your unit. If you win this melee, each of these units get 3 bonus attack dice and 3 bonus defense dice during the next melee they participate in this turn. So I feel like I always loved playing this because, I mean, if you set it up right, that's a common for 12 dice, bonus attack and bonus defense dice. And of course, the bonus defense dice are insane with the top ability without fear of being wounded. And attack dice are super good on your heavy weapon guys if you want them. And the wording allows for you to use this in your turn and your opponent's turn. So if you're being attacked, then you can use this to buff up your guys around them a bit more. And if you're on the offensive right now, then having this and gaining 12 dice for a common, that's incredible, is insane. So I feel like this really rewards you for planning your turns and making sure that your units are close by and close to each other. So incredible ability in my opinion.
Yep. All right. The next one is the first 2 dice ability. So it's two commons, and it is God's Judgment. It's a melee ability again. Gain attack dice equal to your unit or the enemy's unit's armor, whichever is higher. Again, we like getting lots of attack dice in this board, so that's nice. Yeah, I mean, like the 2 dice obviously a little bit painful, but this being used, for example, on what's it called, like a you can always bump up your armor with like the fatigue as well, and then you can potentially get 6 dice, which is pretty gross. So I think if you're just going for a weight of dice, like even your guys with just melee, like no heavy weapons, just like sword and board, they're going to be pretty outputting a lot of of attacks in the end. I think the common dice just make it a little bit difficult because there are like it's just such a. I think it's easy with this board to say every single ability is good, but you have I think three 2 dice abilities, and then you also want to move around a little bit and you want to do other stuff. So it's like I think this board is like every single ability is like very passable except for maybe 1 or 2, but it's more, you're not going to have time. You're not going to have the chance to do everything and then also do objective and everything else. So good, but expensive. Like the normal like exchange rate, I think it's like 3 dice for a common, right? And like the top left hand type ability.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So and then it's like, oh yeah, it's a common. If you have 1 extra, you throw it on. But here it's like a commitment because you're just 2 dice down. So
I completely agree. If this said if this was 1 common and it said gain attack dice equal to half your opponent's or your enemy unit's armor, then I feel like this would be a much better ability.
All right, moving on.
Okay, I think the next one is Blessing of the Righteous. It's a melee or shooting reaction that takes an uncommon. If you have a unit of pilgrims in your warband, your unit cannot suffer more casualties than its armor value. Any excess losses are cancelled. Otherwise, you may reroll a number of defense dice equal to your unit's armor. So if you're playing Levantine and you have the pilgrims, if you play this on a unit of pilgrims, then they usually suffer like 2 or 3, depending on if your opponent took down your armor or not. And if you're not playing the Levantine, so the Baltics, so a bit more, I don't know, Hearthcard heavy maybe, then you can just reroll 5 dice or something, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think in the end, this is like one of these things, one of these abilities you put on, and then potentially it's so incredibly annoying if you charge in like Hearthguard into levies or something. Like it's already annoying, but this just makes it more annoying if you're. And to be honest, I think people would like if they see this lying on your battle board or something. Like, there's no reason you would ever charge into your levies or something stupid like that. So potentially good. I think also it just completely blunts the blunts like those kind of like Death Star units, like the what's it called, like the Militis Christi, trying to wipe like levy and stuff like that. And what's the other one that has like a I don't know. Anyway, we'll see later.
Any Mongol attack, I think.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, too bad you can only play it once. So yes, okay. Next one, another 2 dice ability. So this is a common plus an uncommon. Happy are the humble. It's an orders ability. Until the end of the turn, your pilgrims have the same melee aggression as warriors and are no longer considered unarmed. If you have no pilgrims, all your Hearthguard increase their armor by +1 and gain resilience 1 until the start of your next turn, against shooting attacks only. All right. Unfortunately, this is the shooting attacks. I think there was a discussion on the significance of the comma here. And to be honest, I'm not sure where it landed in terms of if the resilience 1 was only affecting the shooting attacks, or if the +1 armor and the resilience. I think in my book, and the intention is that both the +1 armor and the resilience both count for the shooting attacks, without going into like deep grammatical discussions with people. But it's nice to see also that they are kind of showing like two different abilities here, depending on the Levantine or Crusaders. So starting off with the Levantine one. This is like the kind of like the Anglo-Saxon, what is it, unison or something?
Yeah.
They can start fighting like warriors. I think the way the Levantine have been taken is like minimal pilgrim units, just like a token pilgrim unit. In the past. But if you don't want to be like a min-max type player, I think this potentially, if you lean into like the heavy pilgrim build, I think potentially this could be pretty sick. And I'm wondering if it will come back in terms of being able to do it. But I think that should be like that seems like a very thematic and fluffy way of like making being quite fun. And then if you're on the Baltic side, incredibly good against like I hate to say it, but like the meta, I guess, with like Mongols. I guess Saracens are going to be doing pretty well. Pagan people are always doing pretty well. Luckily, Byzantines have decreased their shooting a little bit. But I think overall, like, this is incredibly good to keep your Hearthguard up and running. So very flexible, and I think even before the FAQ, it got used quite a lot against me. So good little ability, but costly.
Yeah, and I think that's I love that it basically perfectly sums up the playstyle of the two, or the potential playstyle, I should say, of the two different factions, or Levantine and Baltic. So yeah, buffing your levies or your pilgrims, or buffing your Hearthguard. Looks great. All right, next one's called Jericho, I guess. It's a melee ability that says gain 2 attack dice for an uncommon, and gain 2 additional attack dice if the enemy unit's armor is higher than 4. So just compare that to God's Judgment right next to it. Here it's kind of easy for an uncommon to get 4 attack dice. Just as soon as you go into Hearthguard, or if you go into Warlord, you gain 4 attack dice. So that's a nice one. We like that, but this, of course, doesn't work against levies. So if you need attack dice to kill more levies, this won't be the one. So makes you fight better in 2 tough units. I think it's a good ability. For attack dice for an uncommon is good.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it's nice and simple. So the next one is using either a uncommon or a rare. It's called the Valiant, I guess. Yeah. It's a melee ability for Hearthguards or heroes or pilgrims. If your unit wins this melee, it removes 1 of its fatigues at the end of combat. If you use a rare, the enemy unit suffers an additional fatigue once the melee is resolved. All right. I think both options are pretty sick. This is also this gets linked really nicely with the resilience one from Happy of the Humble as well. So that's always the problem. If you have resilience, you end up fatigued really quickly. And this is one of the ways you can get rid of it using the Valiant. However, it starts to get incredibly dice hungry as well. And then also, I think there's the next one as well links up quite nicely on terms of fatigue play as well.
Right.
I think it's probably let's move on to that one, because that one's kind of the moneymaker. Let me put it that way.
All right, let's talk about the moneymaker. It's called the Peasant's Crusade, and it's an activation that takes both a common and an uncommon. And it says, if you have a unit of pilgrims in your warband, activate any number of your warriors and levy units for a movement or a charge. These activations do not generate fatigue. Otherwise, activate one of your heroes or unit of Hearthguards for a charge and increase their armor by 1 in the ensuing melee.
I could hear Timo crying with this updated FAQ ability. But yes.
Yeah, so I think I honestly don't understand why you would ever play this for the non-pilgrim, because then it's a common and an uncommon for a charge activation with your armor increased by 1. And sure, that's okay, but I mean, I don't think I'd play that a lot, especially considering that with the top half you can activate potentially like 5-6 units with that, and it doesn't generate fatigue. So I feel like the pilgrim one is much better here, and definitely makes sense why people bring like half a point of pilgrims and then only warriors.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe in reference of what it was before I got FAQ'd, I think it was a kind of any kind of activation, so shooting,
it was.
whatever. So I guess I think this is actually good in terms of just like the fluff of Saga. Like it was 6 pilgrims hidden in like the forest, and then everyone else warriors with bows shooting like multiple times per. But fatigue free. So I think this is a good improved one, but I think they've kind of shorted the ability for the Baltic Crusaders a little bit. I think it's nice also that it's maybe stimulates taking some extra pilgrims as well. I think that's going to be cool, but it's definitely like a big kick in the nether regions for the Levantine people who've painted up like 36 bow warriors or more. So anyway, moving on. The last one is called God's Host. It's an activation reaction. It's either a common or an uncommon. Trigger this ability after an enemy unit finishes resolving their activation. If you have pilgrims in your warband, choose a unit of pilgrims. Until the end of the turn, it gets 4 bonus defense dice against both melee and shooting attacks. Otherwise, choose a unit of Hearthguards and activate it to rest or move. Oof. All right. It's definitely wordy, these ones. Compared to the other ones. But good to know that this is activation reaction, and just removing fatigue in your opponent's, or as an activation reaction, is amazing. Let me put it that way. It's so incredibly versatile, especially just for like a common. This feels like this brings the board from like, yeah, it's solid. You've got like a little bit of defense. You've got lots of attack dice, stuff like that. This makes it actually interesting, being able to do activation reaction moves in your opponent's turn, especially if you're with, like, for example, if you're Baltic dudes, you're going to have like a Hearthguard doing a lot of work, and being able to just run them away, for example, or being able to rest them, absolutely, like, yeah, sweet god tier move.
I agree.
So it's for the Baltics, I think this is absolutely amazing. Like for a common, this is just sick. And then on the Pilgrim side, yeah, okay, like I think it's okay, but they're not going to do. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you combine it with the Happy Are the Humble, then they start getting more interesting. But then you're basically dumping a lot of dice into what's basically a levy unit, or I guess a warrior unit. So I don't know. I think this is overall like gone to the top of one of the good abilities on this particular board, and makes it from like an interesting board to like a really interesting board, and makes it very flexible. So I would rate this probably in the top tier of the abilities on this board.
I completely agree. Yeah, the having the flexibility. I mean, a common for this, having the flexibility in the dice, so putting a common and an uncommon is great, and then having the flexibility of resting or moving is incredible. And I think one thing to note, which this ability alone makes it super interesting to me, to bring a warlord with bodyguards, because then the unit counts as being Hearthguard, and suddenly you can have an insane warlord moving in your opponent's turn, or resting in their turn. And that also works super well with the set an example. I think that opens up such a great playstyle. Just this ability alone, so good.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty sweet actually. And if you hate painting models, the Baltic Crusaders can be incredibly compact. So,
yeah, good. Good way to say it.
Like some dry brushing, and then slap it on the base, and you're ready to go, basically. So, okay. All right, Tim. Use your big brain and give us a fluffy Levantine list, a hardcore Levantine list, and then we'll talk about the Baltics afterwards.
Yeah, I think the fluffy Levantine list is probably, and honestly, I'm not speaking from a lot of experience here on the Levantines. I only played the Baltics so far. I played into Levantines, of course, but I haven't played them myself. So take this with a big grain of salt, with a big pinch, I guess. So I think the fun part would be to just bring 4 points of pilgrims, and use the Peasants' Crusade and Happy Are the Humble to their extent, and then your warlord, and maybe another hero that can we obey, and I think you're good, and I think that will work. The rest of your 2 points can be just your guys on horses for a bit, your warriors on horses for a bit more reach or control of the battlefield. But I think just spamming 4 points of pilgrims and then 2 points of warriors or something, I think that sounds incredibly fun and probably works. And probably is still quite powerful, because the blessing of the righteous keeps you guys alive. So you only lose 3 dudes when you're attacked, and then the Happy Are the Humble makes it so. And it's quite easy to activate Happy of the Humble, right? It's not like the Anglo-Saxons or you need to roll the rare, where it's like if you don't roll it, your game's basically done. But a common and an uncommon is usually quite easy to get. And then
especially with the Peasant Crusade, you're just freeing up so much. So many dice that you don't have to put on activations, because you can just activate basically 4 units easily.
Yeah, so more. I think that's the fluffy one. And then if you want to go hardcore into it, it probably doesn't work as well as it did before. But the original idea was to just bring half a point of pilgrims and then 5.5 points of warriors with crossbows or bows. So you move them around and shoot with them, and then the Peasants Crusade for the crossbows, for example, can move them in between shots so they don't generate fatigue and then shoot again. That's the whole idea. But I think that doesn't work as well anymore, because that basically eats up all of your activations. But always interesting. Most of them have to be bows, right? Because it says only one unit and can have 8 models, so that isn't great. But guys, most of them have to be bows. So just completely forget what I just said. The fluffy one is just half a point of pilgrims and then 5.5 points of warriors with bows.
Awesome. Okay, and now the Baltics. I think they're more focused on Hearthguard. You can't take the pilgrims anyway, so that makes it easier. I think on the Baltic side, we've seen some pretty sweet. It feels a little bit more balanced. You're going to definitely be heavy on Hearthguard. It doesn't really matter in terms of like mounted, on foot, or with heavy weapons. I think all 3 options have their place, and it's heavily dependent on who you're facing and what the objective is. So I think it's nice to have the flexibility there as well. But to be honest, I think every single one of those have a place in the Baltic lineup. And then what I would do personally for the Baltic lineup is 3 points of Hearthguard with all the options back up, and then 2 points of warriors also there. You can get a little bit flexible in terms of if you need some guys just to hold 12 warriors to hold to be like a serious threat, either mounted or on foot, and then like have a 4 unit of dice generators, something like that, and then 1 point of, I think crossbows is pretty sweet for this particular one.
It is really good,
especially with like Levy crossbows, always good. So I think the board also helps them out a little bit, and I think it's nice, flexible, not gigantic footprint, and it gets supported on every single side as well. So I think you'll end up painting a lot of different options. So good luck with that. But they're also kind of up there in terms of strength. So I don't think it's like, it's never easy if you're playing against Crusaders. Let me put it that way.
I agree.
Always there's no scenario or anything else where they feel heavily outmatched or have an uphill battle. So I think all in all, it's like a good kind of like flagship warband for the Age of Crusades, given that they're Crusaders. So that helps normally to keep the like an age book like popular, I think.
Yeah, and it's the same with the Vikings, right? The Vikings are just popular, but they aren't nearly as good as the Crusaders in their book. So I think the Crusaders are just really nice. What would you rate them, JP?
Yeah, I would. I think in terms of how they like flexibility, I think they're 5 out of 5 in terms of modding options. I think also like 5 out of 5. You can get really, you can go to town. I think especially now that Victrix has released a lot of plastic kits. Like
they look incredible.
Like the kind of Hearthguard mounted from kind of like earlier, which has like overlap with like the Norman models that they have, and then if you want to go later in the Crusades, you have like the kind of the overlap with like early chivalry models. I think in terms of modeling, it's like 5 out of 5. You can just do whatever you want, and then even if you want to do early Crusades, you have basically the good, almost like a Norman warband. So
yeah.
And then strength, I would also say they're like 4 out of 5 So I guess that would be like 4.75 or something. What is it? 4.6 out of 5. The question is, out of what? I don't know.
Maybe let's say flags, because I feel or crosses, because I feel like their whole thing is being pretty and having crosses and looking nice.
And crosses on flags. So
yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, that is a thing. Yeah.
All right. So 4.6 crosses on flags.
Yeah, I'll agree, and I think my rating's quite close. I think it's a 4 out of 5. Because it's just so difficult. This warband supports Hearthguard playstyle so much, but then Hearthguards usually struggle a lot in actually winning games because of how the scoring works. So if you're not playing Massacre points, Hearthguard basically suffer, and I feel like that makes it a bit hard to win with Hearthguard, which is sad. So maybe it's time to work on the scoring. But yeah, it's a cool warband. I think, as you said, it's easy to pick up, and then it's powerful, and you can't really go wrong. So that's always cool.
Yeah, that helps. It helps that like you just basically paint anything, and then if you want to mix up the play style, you just like throw in some pilgrims, and then you basically have a new warband. So
yeah.
Okay, I think well done, Studio Tomahawk. I think it's also very positive in terms of the changes that they've done on the FAQs. I think the machine gun build was frankly a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they got rid of it. It just makes it for a better experience for everyone. So yes, okay.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Okay, first one down for the new Crusades. I think we basically have to redo everything. So I guess we're gonna have to do like Ordenstadt and Pagan Peoples and Levantines, or sorry, the Lithuanians again.
But I'm also a lot more excited about the new warband, so I think that's really cool that we're actually doing all of them again.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.
See you. Thank you. Bye bye.